Tonight, the Canadian Association of Journalists raises concerns about an email sent to media after 2 RCMP officers were shot. A prominent tree in Saskatoon falls victim to Dutch elm disease. And 3 young violinists from Saskatchewan prepare to play in the National Youth Orchestra.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, July 16th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Last month's shooting in Melville that injured 2 RCMP officers shocked the community, and it's also sparked a conversation about how the media covers crime. It comes after the RCMP sent a message to media outlets about their coverage of the story, and it has journalism experts now sounding the alarm. Alex Kozrowski has our top story.
Stay off his property.
It was a tense scene that started with 2 neighbors arguing about property lines in Melville. It ended with 2 RCMP officers being shot and a man arrested. In the aftermath, witnesses spoke to the media about what they saw that day. But in an email sent to the province's media outlets shortly after the shooting, Saskatchewan RCMP's officer in charge of media relations raised concerns about that. Superintendent Amber Clark said publishing witness accounts could impact investigations, reshape memories that influence future interviews, and affect future jury pools. The note also asks media to reach out to RCMP before publishing specific details about crimes. But the Canadian Association of Journalists says the RCMP shouldn't have control over what the media publishes.
It just underlines the fact that police do not seem to understand the role of the media in a democracy. And independent media cannot have someone looking over their shoulders telling them, yes, that's okay, no, that's not. I mean, it flies in the face of the word independent.
Schneiderite and the CAJ have put out their own public statement. They're calling on the RCMP to rescind its message to the media.
The media's role is to give the public the information that they have a right to know and that is useful to them. And the police's motivations don't always align with that.
University of Regina journalism professor Trish Elliott calls the RCMP's email an overstep and said it should issue an apology.
It's a core piece of our work to talk to people. And I think having to get that vetted through the RCMP is just a really egregious expectation. And I doubt that any journalism organization would follow that directive.
Saskatchewan RCMP declined CBC's request for an interview. Alex Kozrowski, CBC News, Regina.
And meanwhile, people in Melville are continuing to show their support for the 2 officers injured in that shooting. Kelly Provo has that story.
In the hospital room of an injured RCMP officer, cards of encouragement from children in Melville. The Mounties were shot, responding to a call. Their injuries were said to be serious and potentially life-altering. And a man now faces charges that include attempted murder. It was local art teacher Sarah Schick who enlisted the help of children to encourage the injured officers.
These kids are so full of hope and optimism that I wanted to channel that and not focus on the fear.
A special account has been set up for the officers and their families. Since then, local businesses have organized fundraisers, and support is being shown in other ways.
It has been huge. I mean, the whole town came together and they've rallied around the officers. From people having blue lights on at their homes to, I went past a house the other day and they had RCMP painted on the window with a big heart.
If you drive around the city at night right now, you will see houses that are lit up blue everywhere. I'm pretty sure a week after the event, you couldn't buy a blue lensed light anywhere. It's a pretty heartwarming and emotional thing to see the support from every corner of the community.
That support was evident at a major fundraiser. It was supposed to be held at the fire hall, but it drew over 2,000 people, forcing organizers to host it at the junior hockey rink.
Talking to people that have lived in Melville longer than I have, nobody can tell me that there was ever a bigger event held at RCN Community Centre than what we saw on Saturday.
Out of respect for the officers' privacy, Saskatchewan RCMP are not saying how the injured Mounties are doing, but they're thanking Melville for the support. In a statement to CBC News, they say the kindness and solidarity shown by community members have been deeply appreciated by our officers in Melville and across the province. We are grateful for the generosity and compassion being shown. Kelly Provo, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Search and rescue crews continue to look for a woman in northern Saskatchewan who has been missing for 5 days now. RCMP say 44-year-old Connie Wolverine was last seen in a remote forested area near Pachinak. She was headed to her uncle's cabin to take shelter during a thunderstorm Sunday night. That's when searchers believe she became lost.
It's extremely thick forest growth, swampy areas. She was barefoot, so we don't feel she could have gotten too far in that area. Nothing was turned up in that search.
Over 80 volunteers have taken part in the search of the wilderness and shoreline. RCMP and First Nations search and rescue personnel are also using drones. Anyone with information is asked to contact RCMP. A former board member of Regina's Carmichael Outreach is warning about financial issues with the charity. Mirtha Rivera served on the organization's board until Tuesday when she resigned over concerns about Carmichael's long-term financial viability. On Thursday morning, Rivera called for the rest of the organization's board to follow her lead.
I'm not at liberty to discuss numbers or anything like that, but to have a few weeks of pay for the stuff. We don't have a budget that will cover the pay for annuity, and how we paying for the building, how we paying all those things, and how we paying the benefits for stuff. How are we gonna feed the people? How are we gonna make sure that they have what they deserve?
In a statement, Carmichael says it continues to face financial pressures, and it has issued a plea for donations as recently as earlier this week. But it says recent donations mean its doors will remain open without any interruption in the immediate future. The province is changing the rules for financial help with disasters. The changes come during a year when many in Saskatchewan are asking for help because of spring flooding. Phil Tank has more.
Scenes like this have become common in Saskatchewan this year, and more than 100 requests for disaster help have come in so far in 2026. That's more than double the usual number for an entire year.
We had a very delayed spring melt that caused some pretty substantial spring flooding, and then with the amount of saturation, heavy rains during the summer are just exacerbated by those types of conditions.
So the province is changing the rules for disaster help. The eligible amount for individuals jumps to $500,000, and the threshold for small businesses soars to $3 million. The changes will also help local governments dealing with disasters. In the RM of Fish Creek, northeast of Saskatoon, 36 roads were washed out this year. The cost to repair just one of those roads came in higher than the RM's entire annual income.
That's been our biggest thing. As soon as the flooding started happening, we had farmers curious or upset. How are they going to get to their farms? How are they going to get an extra 5 miles around and get things done in a timely manner?
The RM has just 4 workers trying to fix the roads, but it's looking for more. And flooding damage is widespread. In Kamsack, 70% of homes had water in their basement from flooding earlier this season. That makes it tough to calculate the total cost of the disasters. But some are still struggling with the effects of flooding.
For us, yeah, it was something else to see. It was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. So we're hoping that it never happens again, and hopefully this road gets fixed.
And some good news for those affected by flooding in the spring. The new rules apply retroactively to the start of April. Phil Tank, CBC News, Saskatoon.
People in Loche have high hopes for a hotel being built in the northern village. Officials broke ground at the site of the 59-bed hotel at a ceremony there on Thursday. Local leaders say it's another sign of an economic turnaround for the region. A new uranium mine is being built north of Loche, and there's been an increase in exploration activity in the region. Loche has not had a hotel for over a decade, and the closest accommodations are in Buffalo Narrows, which is over an hour away.
I'm just overall excited. I'm happy that this is something that is going to create hope, opportunity, and it's going to open the door for many, many future things to come.
NextGen Energy, the company behind the new mine, is financially backing the project. Métis Nation Saskatchewan and Clearwater River Dene Nation will be the hotel's owners and operators. It's expected to open sometime next year. A day that turns sunny and muggy in Regina, and while the south feels the heat and humidity, the north is looking stormy and smoky. Weather specialist Riley Lachuk has the forecast when we come back. Welcome back. 3 Saskatchewan violinists have been named to the National Youth Orchestra of Canada this year. It's the largest group from the province to ever join the rigorous training program. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
Making it into the National Youth Orchestra is no easy feat. In fact, most musicians have to apply multiple times before they get in. Now, 3 young violinists from Regina and Weyburn have made it.
Everyone who is really anyone in the music industry in Canada has been to this program. So all former teachers I've had and the current teacher I have recommended this program to me. It's also where you get to meet kind of all of your colleagues that you'll have and work with in the future.
19-year-old Zelda Folks and 18-year-old Zihan Joyce Shu of Regina, as well as 22-year-old Bridget Alexander of Weyburn, were all encouraged by their instructors to apply. They've also performed with the Regina Symphony Orchestra. Alexander says playing with a professional orchestra during their high school years gave them a major leg up.
It's an experience that most musicians don't get elsewhere. In those bigger centers where they have enough professionals to fill all those seats for every concert. So I think that really has put us in a position where it's not as big of a transition playing in an orchestra like this. We're used to the fast pace of the rehearsal.
Alexander and Falk studied with RSO concertmaster Christian Robinson in their early teens. He says they're doing the province proud.
In an environment like the RSO, you have to kind of keep up. And so it's a bit of, for them, I think it was a little bit of like, here's the deep end, off you go into it. And both of them, though, really figured themselves out and were able to swim pretty quickly.
Shu began her violin studies in China before moving to Regina. That was when violin stopped being a hobby and became a serious focus.
The musical community in Regina is so supportive.
NYO Canada wants more prairie representation in the famed orchestra. Its CEO says there's an incredible amount of talent in Saskatchewan.
It's entirely possible for any young musician from Saskatchewan to be with us in the summer. I hope you can dream of it. It's a wonderful time for everybody.
Shu, Falks, and Alexander will perform with the NYO for the first time Saturday at Kerner Hall in Toronto before touring across Ontario and Quebec. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
The weather is brought to you by Stars Lottery. Your tickets fund life-saving care across Saskatchewan.
Well, this hot, sunny summer weather, music to some people's ears in the province, but for others, it has been unsettled and smoky. Let's bring in weather specialist Riley Lachuk, who has all the details on our forecast. Hi, Riley.
Thanks, Ethan. Great to be with you. A bit of active weather pushing across the province, and that's where I'll start with the weather watches and warnings, all yellow level that we have in place for parts of northern Saskatchewan. So I'll start with the severe thunderstorm watch that we have in place through Illacross up to Uranium City, Stony Rapids under a heat warning, and a large part of northeastern Saskatchewan under an air quality warning because of the wildfires that are burning, not just in northern parts of the province, but some of the smoke actually coming down from parts of the Northwest Territories, which have been dealing with fires as well, and all of that pushing into parts of northern Manitoba. So that includes La Ronge into Flin Flon, Denair Beach, Creighton, and north to the territorial border, where we'll likely see some fluctuating air quality over the next couple of days, particularly in the area around La Ronge. You can kind of see on the smoke forecast modeling here just how much the wind will play into this, right? Like once we get into the day on Friday, you'll start to notice a shift in winds that will push some of that smoke a little bit further to the east. But as we get into Saturday, with a bit more of a northerly flow, we'll start to see some of that smoke pushing south. So places like Hudson Bay even could be getting into some haze as we get into the weekend, and some locally smoky conditions around Denair Beach, Creighton, and westward toward La Ronge. So just keep in mind and keep an eye on the air quality where you are, because this can fluctuate pretty considerably even over short distances and over short periods of time. Looking at temperatures, actually another fairly seasonal day across much of the province today. 25 in Regina, Saskatoon also at 25 through the afternoon. Maple Creek getting to 28, and even mid to high 20s for much of northern Saskatchewan. I know we could use some moisture in northern parts of the province. Unfortunately, not a lot of that in the cards. We are seeing some thunderstorm development on the northwestern corner of the province here, Illacrosse and north. Yes, we'll take the moisture that comes along with this, right? But not necessarily the strong winds or the lightning strikes, which can spark new fires and fan flames that are already burning in parts of the province, right? So we'll take the rain. We just don't want everything else that comes with it. The rest of the province starting to get under the influence of high pressure building to the west, and that will really clear things out as we get into the day on Friday, lead to a nice sunny sky across much of the province, and winds that calm down as we get through the overnight hours as well. Actually looking at winds across much of the province, fairly calm as we get into the morning hours on Friday. That could lead, just with some of the moisture we've seen in the southeastern corner of the province, maybe some fog into places like Estevan and Moosomin. Likely localized in nature, but I'll just let you know about that nonetheless. And then into Saturday, there's the possibility of getting into some scattered shower activity across the south, but a better chance closer into Saskatoon and into the Battleford. So looking at your forecast as we head into Friday, 30s for Regina, Assiniboia, up to 32, 33 into southeastern or southwestern parts of the province, Ethan, and temperatures around 30 degrees, another hot one as well into parts of northern Saskatchewan.
Yeah, certainly. Looks like it's going to be warm. Okay, thank you, Riley. Well, with all this summer heat, winter sports might be the furthest thing from your mind, but in Montreal, a group of synchronized skaters is on the ice and training hard. Synchronized skating will make its debut at the 2030 Winter Olympics. Jay Turnbull has more.
This is the main training center of Les Supremes, and as their name suggests, they've reigned supreme on the global stage, winning 4 out of the last 5 synchronized skating world championships. Soon, that global stage will get a lot bigger. Synchro 9 is one of the sports the International Olympic Committee is adding to the 2030 Games in the French Alps.
It was like a lot of excitement for sure. Like it's been like so many years. Like I was a skater, they were telling us you're going to be the next gen going to the Olympics.
It will be a pared down version, 9 skaters on the ice instead of the usual 12 or 16. Langlois says the world should get ready for a show.
Well, it's the most beautiful sport in the world. First of all, you have like a bunch of people looking at you when they skate. They give you a lot of emotion. There's like artistry on ice.
Sadie Nicholson moved from Calgary a few years ago to skate with Les Supremes. Like her teammates, she's not paid to compete. Far from it.
How much is it costing you per month?
It's pretty expensive. It's around like $1,500 a month.
Nicholson hopes the Olympic exposure will mean more funding to offset those costs. To say this has been a long time coming is an understatement. Leanne Charrette's grandmother hoped to compete in the Olympics. There she is. Then she hoped her daughter would be an Olympian. Now she finally has a chance to watch her granddaughter.
She's freaking out. She's been texting me, calling me. She wants all the info. She wants to know what I'm gonna do. And I'm like, Grandma, like, I didn't figure it out yet.
The games are still 4 years away, and these skaters aren't getting ahead of themselves. But let me put it this way, Canada. They have reason to be confident they'll find themselves on the podium. Jay Turnbull, CBC News, Montreal.
Well, how's this for entertainment? An influencer and his friend landed a gig watching every World Cup match, yes, all of them, from a glass cube in the middle of New York's Times Square. They'll each be getting paid $50,000 by U.S. broadcaster Fox to watch the games. The pair also use their time in the cube to make social media content about the World Cup. Pretty interesting. All right, stay with us. We're back after the break. Just a day after the city of Regina warned about increasing cases of Dutch elm disease, the city of Saskatoon says a tree in that city has tested positive for the disease. The tree is one of hundreds along the Memorial Avenue of trees at Woodlawn Cemetery. It was established in 1923 to honor those who died in the First World War. The city says the tree has to be removed immediately to prevent the spread of the disease. The city's archivist says the memorial is deeply personal and each tree celebrates a story.
Until 1970, if you were a Canadian soldier or any Commonwealth soldier, they buried you where you fell. Right, someplace in proximity to where the battle was. Canadian soldiers did not come home. So if I have a child and he's fallen in France, he's not coming home again. There's nowhere I can go where I can stand and remember my child. And so this way, these trees gave us a chance to make our mourning personal.
The Parks Department is going to follow the direction of City Council, and it's promised to replace the tree. We'll also be working with stakeholders in terms of future monuments, that kind of thing, to replace. But this has been done previously as well, as in past trees have died for other reasons such as drought and damage.
The infected tree honored the officers of the Forever Scotland camp. The city is taking measures to protect the other memorial trees. It says it doesn't believe the disease has spread at this point.
All right, let's take a look at your long-range forecast. And as we get through the next couple of days, things trending either seasonal or even a few degrees above as we head into the weekend. Certainly nothing like we saw through last weekend with some of the oppressive heat and humidity, but 30 degrees into Regina for Friday, 29, chance of a few isolated showers into the day on Saturday. Wouldn't let that ruin any outdoor plans if you've got any. 28 into Sunday, and then temperatures stabilizing closer to the seasonal mark, but remaining quite sunny, at least for the southern half of the province. As we head toward the middle of next week, up to 28 by next Thursday. Saskatoon, better chance of some showers as we get through the morning hours. I think the best chance will be further west. Kindersley into the Battlefords, likely seeing a few showers into the morning on Saturday, 27 into the afternoon Sunday. Another chance of maybe a few isolated showers through central parts of the province, Ethan, into Monday, and then temperatures staying in the high 20s or even up to 30 by the time we get to the middle of next week.
Okay, looks like summer's kicking into high gear. Thank you, Riley. And that is our news for this Thursday. For more news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.